how much will a thumb fracture to his non-shooting hand impact Harden moving forward?
It all depends on where is it located exactly. But, it's not going to affect the shooting, but it'll affect that when he tries to drive, little knickknacks here and there. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have to wrap it tight. He's going to have to take pain medicine for, especially go to the playoffs, right? And you're going to have guys that's going to hit it on purpose, right? That's what that is. So there's going to be some swings in the game where he's just going to have to use his left hand a lot more than he usually does, right? So you're going to know where he's going and just stopping him from getting there. But as long as it's not affecting his shooting, he should have an impact.
Let's move on to you, Mr. B. Fellow lefty. How will a right thumb fracture in his non-shooting hand impact Harden moving forward?
I mean, to me, it depends on, what type of brace he put on it. Also, it depends on, his being able to pass the ball. I mean, he is left-handed, so that'll be fine. But like Gil said, in the playoffs, team goals are going to be trying to find ways to get James Harden out the game, and it's going to be aimed at his thumb. But it's if he's going to play through it, he ain't gonna have no excuses. So, hey, just keep going.
So no excuse, right thumb fracture, whatever it may be. If he's out on the court, you expect to see the same level of James Harden that we've seen since the time Cleveland started.
I mean, just a level enough to be out there to compete and good enough for them to, be contenders still.
Why is he trying to play through it? Are they trying to get the number 1 seed or something?
They could potentially, I think, probably get as close as 2. They're in a heated battle right now, tied for fourth place right now. Half a game behind the Knicks, a game and a half behind the Celtics, but 7 games behind the Pistons for the 1 spot. So 1 unlikely, but 2 very much in play.
I mean,
regardless, it's still a great team. Yeah, it's still a great team. I'll stay out, let it heal, get ready for the playoffs. You're still Cleveland. You don't want to play them in the playoffs with a healthy James. The team they have, Donovan Mitchell, Mobley, they're still going to be a threat. And you don't want to see them in the 7-game series. So I'll rest a little bit. You're not young no more. You ain't got nothing to prove to the people that say you don't play through injuries and you give up and stuff. I let it heal and come back and get like that last push for the playoffs, for sure. I don't know why you're trying to play through it right now.
Like I said, did sit out second night of a back-to-back Wednesday against the Bucks. I'm sure they will try to manage the injury as best as possible. I can see him missing some more games down the road. Cavs got about 22 games left in the season as they try to make this playoff push. But last but not least, let's move on to Dr. McCants, PhD. Good doctor. What do you think about James Harden deciding to play through his right thumb fracture for the rest of this season?
I think he would have to. I mean, the last thing you would want for him to do is to not play, to be injured, to come out from that situation with the Clippers, asking out to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers and to be hurt and not to be a part of that resurgence that they're trying to go into the playoff with. I think that playing through it just shows that you can play through injury. You can play hurt, especially at a severity as a fracture. I think essentially he's going to have to fit in knowing that he's not going to be able to go to all of his shit that gives him an advantage against the other defenders. His dribbling, going into his shot making is going to be different. His bounce passes are going to be different. His lob passes, especially on the thumb is the toughest spot.
Man,
when you're talking about holding the ball in your hand, getting it from the shoot, getting it from your guy hand to your shooting hand, and being able to have effectively what that guy hand does to the shooting ability. When you're talking about being effective. So it could be a detriment to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He might go into it being a minus in that situation. How good is he going to be as a defender, being able to play injured and be hurt with that right hand and not give up points based on it being, him, Joel, and being it like, every other possession, grimacing and trying to be like, damn, that shit hurt, especially if they're going to attack the actual hand. So I think I'm on both sides of the fence with it. I think he should play through it, but also it could be a detriment to the team, especially the fact that they brought him in and he asked for it. So it's on both sides for me.
Also a point to to Nick's point, they do have Dennis Schroeder over there. So,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And he's shown what he can do also when he gets his opportunity. So James sitting out, kind of don't hurt either, because Dennis Schroeder is a guy that can play in those big moments to me.
Like, you can sit out for a week or two. You don't have to jump right back into it. Like, what is 2 weeks really going to do? Like, how much are you really missing in 2 weeks to let
But
it heal?
you're not really healing. The thing with fractures is either you break it all the way and you heal, or you play through it and it ain't never gonna heal.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, he's taking the process of, we're gonna play through it and we'll fix it at the end of the season, do the surgery. I mean, I think Sean May went through the same type of shit when he had foot surgery. It was like, it would be better for you to break it than to play through it, because it's gonna be painful.
According to reports, Harden met with a hand specialist. He underwent MRIs, X-rays, all that stuff. Met with a hand specialist. Wednesday said that surgery would not be required. Obviously, rest would be the best way to heal it. But I don't think but there is a potential now, if he keeps playing on it, that it becomes worse. And now we're in a situation where obviously over the offseason, he's going to have to address it.
I had that. Look, see that?
Sabonis had the same injury, right? I think Sabonis had in 2001. He played through it. He averaging 20 and something. So,
yeah.
Well, we'll see.
The Cavs have a tough stretch of games coming up. 2 of their next 3 against the Pistons. They play the Pistons on Friday. Then again on Tuesday, got the Nets in between that on Sunday. But then they got a stretch of 5 days where they don't play. They don't play again until the 8th. So they play on the 3rd, don't play again until the 8th. So there will be a little time for him to. Yeah, I know that's a.
I think he's going to manage. I think he's going to manage his hand. How 76ers wins and losses are. I think he wants to play 76ers in the first round. So he would try to get to 3. If they're sitting at 7, if they go to 5, he's going to go to 4. Right? So I think he's going to pick and choose games depending on, where that record is, because I think he has paid back to
Philly.
So Philly sitting at 7.
I can see that.
Yeah. And there's also Cavs got stretches of games coming up, very, very ass schedule. They got the Mavs twice. They got a stretch where they play the Mavs twice, the Bucks, Bulls,
the Bucks
and Hornets.
Not ass no more though.
Yeah,
Who?
We'll talk about it.
Who's not ass?
What, Joe said?
We will talk about it. I'm not fully convinced yet, but I'm talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. So a manageable stretch of games where they can win. Like you mentioned, they got Schroeder. They got people that can fill in the void for them against that level of competition, still get dubs, still stay in the playoff race. But as you guys as former Hoopers, obviously playing through injury, playing through pain, do you respect James Harden for trying to step up and keep going shot? Like you mentioned, there is a potential that it has a negative effect, negative ramification. If he's trying to do this, he's not good enough to go, and now worsens that injury. But do you guys all respect him for at least trying to go out there and give it a go?
Well, I said, even with what I said about Joel Embiid giving it a go at the end of that season and helping that team have a little bit of hope of even getting in the playoffs and all that kind of thing. When your leader or one of your leaders is on the squad and he's trying to push through injury, it helps the morale of the team. A 70% James Harden is better than a 100% Dean Wade. So I think that when you got guys that can step up and say, I'm gonna fight through this just so we feel good about me being on the floor. You guys got my back, but I still do something good, which is passing. He still got that left hand. He can still pass. And he's still optimistic. I think that's the best thing. He don't want to miss out on this opportunity of sitting out and not being a part of their run of trying to actually get there, make a real surge in the East to get to the second or the first spot.
For sure. They do got a good chance to be really good this year. For sure. But did you say D Wade? 100% D Wade?
Dean Wade.
Dean Wade.
What they say. Damn.
A player for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Swaggy. Harden made the playoffs in each of the first 16 seasons of his career. It looks like it's going to be 17, obviously, barring some catastrophic. But looking at this Cavs squad, 4th in the East right now. Like I said, 2 games behind the Celtics for the second spot. Have the best offensive rating in the league this month. I've been playing very, very well. Have the second best record in the league since January 1st. Does adding Harden increase the Cavs' chances of making their first Eastern Conference Finals since 2018?
Yes, I mean, as long as he's healthy enough to be out there, right? A hand injury and a leg injury is two different injuries. If you got knee problems, you got ankle problems, foot toe problems, that affects you moving, keeping up with people, right? Jumping, dunking, driving, right? So that is more detrimental to, a team versus, your offhand, right? We know how to protect our hands. We've jammed fingers, we sprain wrists. Like, we can still play a full game. I can still chase my man around or
Mm-hmm.
get by somebody and I can still play at least 100% of my leg work and just, maybe 50, 75%, right? It stops me from going right, but I can still pass, shoot, do float. I can still, win games. It's hard to win games when your lower part is, 50%, right? So as long as he manages the pain, take care of it, ice it, wrap it, I don't know if we will see a big drop from him offensively.
No. Oh,
Unless they're
yeah,
unless they're just targeting it, but
yeah.
but we've hurt our wrists, our off wrists. I mean, if you're a dunker and you jump, you done hurt this plenty of times to the point where it's two sort of play and you just go left hand that game. So to the
You
fact that he's
did
a
that,
strong hand, he's fine.
You and Brandon, they never did that though.
But
Hurt
What?
yours.
no, not my wrist.
Yeah.
Blisters.
But blisters on the fingers.
Fingers though, for sure.
Blisters on the fingers.
You saying wrist on the rim like y'all be up.
So I'm about
on-
to say, I got blisters now on my fingers still.
Yeah, blisters on the wrist.
That's from other shit though.
I mean,
Oh my god.
Hmm.
Awkward moment of silence here on Virtual Arena, presented by Underdog Woo. So, Shot, Cavs haven't made the Eastern Conference Finals since 2018. Obviously made the finals that year. Haven't advanced past the second round since then. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell has that stigma around his career of not being able to do that despite all of his playoff appearances. But when you look at this Cavs squad heading into this postseason, like we talked about all year, a weaker Eastern Conference, Pistons are going to take the top spot. 2 is up for grabs. Do you think this Cavs squad has enough with the addition of Harden to make the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2018?
Well, you got to look at the logistics of what stopped him last year, what stopped him the year before that. Injury has been always the thing that's plagued them. So DeAndre Hunter and Mobley being out last year, having a lingering Darius Garland on and off the floor. The only guy that's been consistent has been Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen. So you looking at these two guys as your backbone. James has already suffered an injury. You got Keon Ellis, you got Dennis Schroeder as your guys who has came in for DeAndre Hunter, who was a defender, who was a guy, 2D guy that can really go out and affect the game in many different ways. I think having these two smaller guards affects them because now they don't have the versatility. You have to depend on a guy like Dean Wade and the young fella number 20, I can't remember his name, that's been playing well for them. But it's one of those things now where it's always been injury. You got to hope now that they can stay healthy to see if they can keep this thing going right now. But that's really what I look at. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's game has changed a bit for where we're going to see like he's going to turn it up a notch. He's going to be consistent. I think Jared Allen is going to be as consistent as you get him the ball. So if James is not getting him the ball like he has been in the last 8 games, where he's been very effective, he's been upbeat, he's been rebounding. I think the team is going to go as far as they've went in the last 3 years, in the last 4 years. And getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals right now, I don't think the East is weak. I think the East has been right now at this point surging upward. I think, like I said before, the Sixers looking a lot better in the second half of the season. Boston looking good. New York starting to get their shit together. I mean, Charlotte, they own the surge. They looking kind of scary for anybody to come in there and think they can win. Milwaukee starting to turn it around second half of the season. Orlando's starting to look a little bit different now. They trying to creep around. I mean, if you're really watching the games, you can see that the East is really trying to compete and change that narrative that is weak. So Cleveland gonna have to get their shit together because it's not gonna be no cakewalk.
Do you think Cleveland got a team that could win the championship? Really?
Listen,
Like
Cleveland does go. Yeah,
they
go ahead.
because they got everything that can match up with OKC from 1 through 5. They got a star, 2 star players down there, 3. They got half court and fast break offense. They could slow it down with James Harden, pick and rolls. They got defenders and Mobley that can do both. Block shots, score. They got a bench for Stroger. I think they if they click at the right moment, I think Cleveland got a chance to make it to the finals for sure.
Cleveland definitely have a chance.
Man,
I mean, off the fact that you're adding James Harden, because
yeah,
when Donovan Mitchell used to come off and Mobley, they really didn't have anybody to come off to actually keep them going. I think just adding them and then you add in Dennis Schroeder. He's a dog, and
yeah,
he likes to, he shows up at big time moments. And like I said before, when you add James Harden with Donovan Mitchell,
that's
it makes
tough.
Donovan Mitchell a number 1 option on the championship
Yep.
team. And
So
I'm
I was
standing
going
with
to
that.
ask you, Mr. B, that now that the addition of
Yes.
Harden makes you believe that Donovan Mitchell can be the number 1 option on the championship team. Okay.
Yes, more help. Yeah, he got more help, and he has more leverage to go out and do what he wants.
Glad you finally giving him his respect.
No, yeah, I
He's
said
gonna
it.
win now.
Joe, when you said I guess the stigma around Donovan is, what was that again?
Just not being able to advance far in the postseason.
Is that his fault, or is that
I
the
never heard that.
team's
Yeah.
fault? Because when you're talking about him, he performs in the playoffs.
Man,
When you're talking about the Utah Jazz, well, they have a defensive player of the year on his team, but they take him out in the playoffs, which that right there hurts your team. So you're playing a handicap playoff game because you can't play one of your best defenders because everybody's going small. So when you're talking about like him really winning in the playoffs, when did he really have that chance? Last year, when they do have a team, 2 years, they getting hurt. The supporting cast is getting hurt. When he was with Utah, the second best player on the floor is not playing crucial minutes. That is really hard to really win if you can't, play your full roster when it counts, because as a coach, you're making coach decisions because you're trying to keep up offensively, and which is, the chess game of, the playoffs. So I can't say that he hasn't done everything he needed to do to get there.
I think it's equal. It's equal blame because we blame other players who have gotten there without their team being full health. They've had to carry and never really, Kevin Durant. He's been one of those guys the last 4 or 5 years. Giannis, the last 4 or 5 years. Embiid, even with James and with Embiid. Just piggybacking on what y'all was just saying about him being with James, shit, he was with Embiid. He didn't get it done. He was with Kawhi. He didn't get it done. And he didn't get it done because everybody didn't show up healthy every year. And if you are performing at a level, at some point, you need to start overperforming. You need to start doing more. And that's based on you not knowing whether or not guys are going to show up and play or not. I think that's usually the mentality of understanding, like, all right, this is what we got. We here, we in the playoffs. These guys might not last. I can't give you 12. I can't give you 22. I got to give you 45. I got to give you
last year
52.
he did. He
right?
did
And it
though,
still
man.
wasn't, and it still wasn't enough. So at this
He
point, you
he
still in the
had
same situation that you've been in based on unreliable players coming to the table. But if you the leader, you're going to get blamed for not getting there. You got to get blamed just because it's on your ship. It's on your watch. You got to get your troops ready to go. And if they ain't ready, man, you got to know what comes with that.
I
Yeah, because
remember him
also,
and Jamal Murray had the best bubble.
Yeah, because also you got to think. I mean, shit, you got to think a guy like K. You got to think a guy like motherfucking Jaylen Brown that's leading 18. So if they get there farther than he does this year, I mean, shit, that's why the conversations are happening. Because you got guys like a number 2 option that goes to number 1, and don't let Boston get there.
You got to see it though. It ain't
I
happened
know,
now.
but I know,
You
but I'm
gotta
just
see
saying.
it.
But no, I said, what if that does happen? Then what? That's why the conversations have been happening about Donovan Mitchell.
And you
Is
look
what I'm
at
saying.
you look at Houston, right? Say Houston don't make it to where they supposed to make it to. You can attribute that to Fred VanVleet not being healthy, Steven Adams going
Wait, no,
down.
no,
Yes, yeah. He
But
was
no.
a main.
you know who's getting the blame though. You know who's getting the
Yeah,
blame
yeah.
for
Come
that.
So
on, man.
KD is ultimately going to be the guy. Like, damn, you should have did more. Da, 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 da. But you know, he went to a team that was a number 2 team in the West. There's other guys that look at it like, man, what more do you want me to do? I'm showing up. I'm being consistent. My guys are going down, but that's a part of the game.
We blame KD in Phoenix.
Wait, hold on. Y'all are trying to use the same logic on the defensive player of the year on your team. And this is how y'all made it to the playoff. He's your defensive stopper. The coach not
Ain't
playing
playing.
him
Ain't
in
playing.
the fourth quarter,
Ain't playing though.
where he stops everybody, and them losing games because they can't stop anybody. You're using an excuse of someone not being there the whole season. Like if Fred ain't been there the whole season, someone stepped up in his part. We're talking.
Yeah.
We've never built a defense without Rudy. Right? That's just like right now going into the playoffs, Spurs, and then in the fourth quarter, they don't play Wemby. Ever. And then you blame Fox for not winning series because they get outscored in the fourth quarter.
They would though.
Very different. It's a very different
But
game.
that's a different conversation because Wemby's an offensive threat. Rudy Gobert is not. So
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert is being used defensively. So it's just like saying taking Jared Allen out of the game because they're playing small. But they're not gonna do that based on Utah was Utah. It was even a different game back then where Rudy just didn't know where he fit in and the coach didn't know what the fuck he was doing. That was coaching. So you look now, it's like, all right, Cleveland, what are you gonna do if they play small? Are you gonna stay big? Who are you gonna sub in? Is that going to be your excuse for losing if you do lose? These are all hypotheticals at the end of the day. When you
And
say
who
the
did they
Fred Van,
lose to? They lost to the Clippers, right? Most time. The
You
I don't
Kawhi
remember.
ball.
don't worry, you just said exactly what I was saying, right? His Utah stint, you just said it's due to coaching. So that doesn't have anything to do with him because coaching decided to put smaller players in. So that means we can only then judge him for his Cleveland stint. And his Cleveland stint, he's been getting hurt. So,
Yeah.
So the original point.
But have
Also
you
has a
heard
defensive
this
player of the year
about?
in Cleveland as well. But like you said, Gil, the injuries
Have you heard
were
this
issue.
about Donovan Mitchell not
Which part?
getting it done? I really haven't heard too much about Donovan Mitchell not getting it done.
I mean, we've discussed it in Gil's Arena presented by Underdog in
There
previous
hasn't
seasons.
been an expectation for him to get it done.
Yeah,
So you can't say we have
that's
the
what I'm saying.
expecting it.
Because a lot of people don't believe he's a number one option.
I mean,
I don't think it's about being number one. I think it's just about being in Cleveland. Cleveland is not a place where if you're not LeBron James, you're going to take them to the mountaintop, especially if the East is strong and you got real competition. So
But I
it's
thought
going to be
that was
competitive.
more of a narrative. Like if Donovan Mitchell a number one option on a championship team, I thought that was more of a conversation than
That was.
him not getting it done in the playoffs.
Well,
That was a conversation for Brunson and Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
I think both of them surpassed the
that's
fact
all
that
I heard.
they can be contenders, right? They took their
Yeah,
team to be contenders, both of them.
yeah. Well,
But making it to the championship caliber up here, they haven't done that yet. But I think they're
yeah.
both number one options.
yeah.
Okay.
Brunson obviously elevated his stature, taking the Knicks to Eastern Conference Finals last year, first time in 25 seasons. D. Mitch playing in the shadow of obviously LeBron. You got Jalen Tyson, who you mentioned earlier, shot saying that this is Donovan Mitchell City now. Well, what you gonna do with it now? That's
I think there's just the narrative was they are not number one options on a championship team.
That's what I thought it was.
That was it. Not if they're number one option. Everybody, if you're the number one option on your team, you're the number one option on your team. Being a number one option on a championship team was the narrative, and that was what everybody was.
yeah. Well, that means you got to make a run in the playoffs, right, to get to that level to be on championship team.
Are you a number one option on a championship team? So that means when the season's over with, You are the number one option, and y'all are champions. That's what it is. Not are you good? You can get to the second round. You can get to the championship. Are you Isaiah Thomas? Are you Steph Curry when y'all win the championship being a small guard? That was the narrative.
So if they were,
it hasn't been proven yet.
It hasn't been proven yet. But if you think about the logic of that narrative, the hypothetical of them making it to the championship game and winning the championship game, there ain't nobody else on their teams that is going to be a number one option over them. And there ain't nobody that they're going to bring in that's going to supersede them as the number one option. Even James Harden, he's the number two option. So the narrative wouldn't even make sense that they're not number one options on championship teams, even if they got there.
Wait, what? I'm sorry.
He's saying, like, if you bring in a number one option,
so
James Harden,
James Harden coming over there. No, James Harden coming over is the reason why Donovan Mitchell is a number one option on the championship team to me.
But before James Harden got there, he was still the number one option, right?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
So regardless of what you're saying, Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell going to be number one options if they get the hypothetical. If they get to the championship, if they win a championship, they would still be number one options.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get what you're saying. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like
but you gotta win. But it's only one winner.
No if in none of the conversations. The conversation was,
I know.
Can they be the number one option on a championship team? Right? All this extra shit that you're there's only two players in the last 30, 40 years that are small guards that have won championships, being the number one option. Isaiah Thomas, Steph Curry, right? That was what the conversation was about. That's it. So far, since whoever said it, they are correct so far.
I said it.
Until one of them two win a championship as the number one option.
Wait. So what is Shea considered though? What does Shea consider? What is Shea considered though?
6'7" guard.
He's not 6'7", but he's a little guard though. Not little, but he's not a big guard.
Shea not little.
Shea's like 6'4", 6'5". He's not.
He's
not Steph little, but he's a little guard though.
He's 6'7". He's not little, Nick.
He's not my height. He's not my height. And he don't look like. He don't look like me. He don't look like, hell no. Stop.
You didn't think Elijah was bigger than you till y'all stood next to each other.
He don't look like Elijah and me out there. He look little, so stop. Let's stop. He do not look our height out there. He looks skinny and he look like an AI type out there.
When they say
he's listed at 6'6", Joe, you saying he's 6'7"?
Xander looks
6'6" is 6'6" not a point guard.
He's like 6'5". He's 6'5" for sure.
Let's not get off topic though. Let's not get off topic because the hypothetical is it hasn't happened yet. We don't know. The people made the narrative based on it's only been two guards prior to, so we know that it has happened. It's not that it can't happen. It's just that we need to wait and see if they get there. Can these two guys lead their team to the championship and erase the narrative? Right now, the narrative is placed on them based on their height and based on the history. So I'm always going to roll with the possibilities. Possibility is it's happened before. It's happened twice before. So all they need to do is get there and see if those guys can take them over the top.
So a small guard would be considered what, 6'3" and under, 6'2" and under?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Steph is 6'3".
Yeah, 6'3" and under usually the criteria for
a
small guard. All right, well, let's keep this thing moving on this glorious Thursday.